everyone and welcome back to the FPL Family YouTube channel. I'm Sam and I'm back with another top picks video for game week 5. So these are the players, one defender, one midfielder and one forward who I think are going to be the top point scoring players for the upcoming game week. Now, this week they are quite expensive and that's because the majority of our premium assets have nice fixtures where I think they could bring us some points. But of course, in these videos, it'll just be anybody that I think might have an exceptionally good week. So let's start, as always, with the defender. So this time around, I am going for this man, Cancelo at Manchester City. Now, of course, he is a premium defender option and is going to cost you 6 million. It was a tough call this week between Cancelo and Trent Alexander-Arnold at Liverpool, who, of course, got, should we call it a goal, should we call it an assist, in the Champions League anyway on Wednesday evening. But I think for me this week, Cancelo just pips him. Fourth for passing so far this season across the entire game with 298 passes. Of those, 264 of them have been successful. So he has had a great start to this season when it comes to being involved in the play. And of course, being involved in the play when you are a Manchester City player is likely to lead to some attacking returns. And of course, with their defensive stabilities, some clean sheets too. He is fifth for BPS amongst defenders in the game so far, second for touches across all of the defenders. Only Soyuncu has managed more touches across the first 4 games of the season than Cancelo has. 7 goal attempts for this man so far this season, and that is why I think he could be a great pick this week. Obviously, there is potential there for a clean sheet against Southampton, but also the potential route to points this week feels greater because of his underlying stats when it comes to going forward. He's also second for XGI amongst defenders. Only Trent Alexander-Arnold has a better XGI than Cancelo does. So in a game against Southampton, I would be expecting at least a clean sheet from him. However, his attacking potential and the underlying stats suggest that Cancelo should be capable of bringing us a lot more than just a clean sheet this week. And of course, if there are attacking returns alongside a clean sheet, there is also likely to be bonus points, as we have seen already. 5th for BPS amongst defenders over the course of the season. So Cancelo is my top points pick for defenders this week. He is the player that I think will return FPL managers the most points in game week 5 when it comes to defenders. Moving into that midfield position then, and this time around I am sticking with the same guy that I had last time, Mo Salah. It is very, very hard to overlook Salah, particularly in the next couple of fixtures that they have. Obviously playing Crystal Palace on Saturday afternoon, back at Anfield, where we all know that Mo Salah really likes to play. 4th for shots so far this season across the game with 16. 5th for chances created so far again with 12. Top for BPS amongst midfielders. 3 goals, 2 assists, 3 clean sheets so far, and has the second best XG and XGI across midfielders in the game. Strangely only beaten by teammate Mane, who has looked pretty off it so far this season. I think this game has Salah written all over it, and he is the player that I think will be the most captained this week. Why? Because he's probably likely to be the highest scoring midfielder going into, or coming out of rather, game week 5. He is a player that it is very, very hard to build an FPL team without. And of course, I am currently wildcarding, and he is a player that has been in every single draft. For me, he is an absolutely non-negotiable premium. There are other premiums that I kind of tinker around the edges with, thinking, well, maybe I won't get this one, maybe I won't get that one. But with Salah, absolutely not. He is a player that I think is essential. In my mind, he is an essential part of my team and pretty much the first name that goes in my team sheet. So when I was wildcarding, there was no doubt that he was going to be there. I think he will be the top point scoring midfielder in game week 5. Finally then, the top points scoring forward. Now this one is actually a little bit more difficult. Last week I had Ronaldo. He did incredibly well. This week I kind of was torn really, between Ronaldo and Lukaku. On paper, Ronaldo has a far easier fixture, but there's something about Lukaku's fixture against Spurs, and I'll talk about that in a minute, as to why I think he will probably be the top point scoring forward of choice. But just a quick word for Bamford. I nearly had Bamford as my forward of choice this week because I do think the fixture is really nice for him and I can see him having a really good game week. But his message, his words about having a slight ping in his hamstring has put me off. And as a result of that, I wasn't prepared to risk going for Bamford as my top point scoring player this week. So I am going to go with Lukaku. 3 goals so far this season. Of course, wasn't here when we started in game week 1. So has played less games than most of the other forwards that we have to pick from in the game. Only Antonio has scored more goals than Romelu Lukaku has. And when you consider, as I just said, he wasn't even around in the early part of the season, but yet he has scored more goals than nearly every other forward in the game. It is quite a phenomenal stat. He has an XG of 2.35 and an XGI of 2.53. Only DCL and Antonio can beat those stats. Now, of course, DCL is injured, won't be available probably for the next 2 to 3 weeks, and Antonio is suspended for game week 5. So Lukaku is the most, he's got the highest XG of any forward that is going to play in game week 5. He's also going to play against Spurs. Now, normally on paper, I would say, whoa, it's against Spurs. It's not going to be that easy. However, we haven't yet had any confirmation on how Eric Dyer is doing, but of course he went off injured against Crystal Palace in game week 4, and without him the Spurs defence looked all at sea. That was made even worse when Japhet Tanganga got sent off, meaning that of course he is suspended for game week 5. Couple that with the fact that Romero is still in Europe on the back of his international exploits. Will be flying back into London, but of course doesn't arrive until Saturday. The game is on Sunday. That means he will have had little to no training with his teammates ahead of that London derby against Chelsea on Sunday afternoon. That means that I think we have potential, that we have a Spurs defence that has a couple of new boys in there who haven't played regularly, that it has it's lacking its most important vocal voice in terms of Eric Dyer. Now, of course, if Eric Dyer plays, we might have a slightly different conversation here, because normally the Chelsea Spurs games are quite tight. They have been over the last couple of seasons, but with the defence and the way that it is for Spurs, with the form that Lukaku has, I think he will be the top point scoring forward for game week 5. So just to recap then, our top point scoring defender for game week 5, Cancelo at Manchester City, playing against Southampton this time around, and I think he's got potential for both a clean sheet and some attacking returns, and therefore some bonus points too. In midfield, no surprise to see the Egyptian king there, Mo Salah. A nice home fixture against Crystal Palace. Could be an absolute riot given the form that he has been in, and of course, if that happens, bonus points. Those additional points, those of you that are thinking about going with the double up in the premiums up top, don't forget about the double up, the extra points that Salah gets in terms of the extra point for a goal and that extra clean sheet point, because Liverpool are regularly keeping clean sheets. That could be important in your decision making there. And finally then, the top points forward that I'm picking for this week is Romelu Lukaku. So, who are your top points picks for game week 5? Do you agree with me? Do you think it's going to be Cancelo? Will it be Salah? Will it be Lukaku? Or are there other players that you think will be better point scoring picks for this game week? Let me know in the comments below. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button before you go. If you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button, and I will update you on my wildcard thoughts on Friday morning ahead of Friday evening's deadline. Thanks for watching, guys.